here we are. The calm before the storm.
Ihr kommt aus zwei verschiedenen Welten.
Halte dich von diesem Mädchen fern.
Do you feel it too?
Hi, I'm Lady Genevieve, and on my channel I talk about entertainment media. Today, I'm going to be talking about Maxton Hall Season 2, Episode 4, with spoilers. It's release day for this episode specifically, and when I thought to myself about how Episode 4 was the comparatively more calm installment within this season, and the fact that the calm before the storm is a phrase that exists, and Episode 4 ends with a storm rolling in, thus directing Mortimer Beaufort to return to the family home where James has just brought Ruby home for a role in the hay.
Would you like to have a roll in the hay?
So let's go through some of these events. Mortimer Beaufort is absolutely fuming following the burst of publicity James's speech received. The one he gave at the gala, about his mental health, about being in love with Ruby Bell. Good for him on both counts. Make those declarations. I don't want to become too repetitive in talking about how much of a supervillain loser Mortimer Beaufort is, but it does start to feel tired watching and rewatching these season 2 episodes to be able to talk about them here on YouTube, and to have to watch this grown man throw these circular temper tantrums of just despising Ruby for no good reason. Why? Because you're greedy. Because you and Elaine's father want to matchmake your children like you're feudal tyrants. Not enough people are mocking you to your face. You need to be ashamed and embarrassed out of this behavior. I feel as though when you have a comedic narrative where the parent is overprotective of their teenage child, you can make their arguments quite ridiculous and over the top because you're doing it for comedic effect. But when it's a dramatic narrative, and you want me to watch your weird, petty grudge with a teenage girl who has never moved with any sort of malice in her life and take your grudge seriously, it's loser behavior. And the fact that I have to sit through an entire season of your antics, well, more like 2 seasons since this is season 2, 2 seasons of this, and we have not Agatha Christie'd you into your highly deserved dirt nap, absolutely not. But as you will have seen, James finally visited Ruby's family home, and he went inside, something he should have done the first time, but he's learned now. He's going to therapy. That's personal growth and maturity in action. He's being open and honest with his feelings, just being with her and talking. All great things to see as part of his larger character story, spanning across multiple seasons now. Oh, and baby sister Ember threatening James to not ever hurt Ruby again. I mean, of course I approve. She was nicer than she needed to be. This is a fictional show, so of course we root for Ruby and James, but in real life, no. 1 strike and you're out. Next. When Ruby comes up with this idea for them to just date in secret and not put that out there for the people who will maliciously try to harm them for being together, I thought to myself, yes, this is perfectly reasonable. You are so close to graduating, and then you're going to be off elsewhere. Do I think Mortimer would still be a menace to them? Yes, of course, but it's still just a few years of university. You build your lives, you develop the frontal lobes of your brain. I see the bigger picture here. But then Ruby immediately caving just so she can stick up for James at Elaine's party, and they revealed their relationship. I was exasperated, I will admit that. On my first watch, I thought to myself, well, clearly this isn't going to go well. Clearly this is going to have devastating consequences. Now, I am not spoiling specifics for episodes 5 and 6 here, but if you've been watching the show and you've paid attention to how these characters in this ensemble behave, you know that these two going against the very logical plan they had agreed upon to dating in secret is going to result in A, B, and C. You might not know the font that will be written in, but they've set things up very clearly for you to be able to follow those threads and what they lead to. And again, like I said, I'm not giving anything away by saying that. When I watched episode 4 for the first time, I knew immediately once they exposed their relationship that it was going to result in A, B, and C. And sure enough, that is exactly what happened. But Mortimer is not the primary villain of episode 4. Sure, he's being horrible to James and horrible to Lydia, but the villain of the week is actually Elaine, because she's not interesting or capable enough of being a primary villain. And for the occasional comment here or there trying to give Elaine some grace for her character motivations, maybe now you'll see what I see, is that not only is she a pathetic loser for being obsessed with trying to get a man, she's also deranged and dangerous. Sniffing James's shirt. Are you serious? Calm down, Fatal Attraction. And not only that, her family, minus Alistair, are emitting a foul aroma. I'll say allegedly, even though I know what my eyes saw. Alistair has a date over, and that date is rudely demeaned and humiliated publicly by Frederick. Elaine not only attempted to drug Ruby, she successfully drugged Lynn. What did you give them? They could have died. Did you grow that and cook that up yourself? How do you know what's really in that? And then Frederick, because I'm not finished with that demon. What did he say to Ruby when she spoke up? For the uneducated minority. Who talks like that? You think I don't recognize dog whistles when you're showing me that many of them in close succession? Frederick walks like he's friends with the chief of the German police. Frederick talks with a tone like he thinks immigrants are the cause of every mild inconvenience he encounters in his life. And Elaine, shirt-sniffing Elaine, drugging girls Elaine. No, I stay far away from people like those. And Lynn throwing up on Frederick's shoes. Oh, she's my favorite person. I know I have said that Ruby Bell is my favorite, and that's also true, but I need to see Ruby learn the power of feminine rage. Lynn was not moving from a place of vengeance. She was just ill, thanks to shirt-sniffing Elaine, but still, her aim was true and just. I know Cyril also did it, but I don't like him. One strike and you're out. That pool stunt, I'm sorry. Did I miss the part where he apologized to Ruby? No? Didn't think so. Throw the whole Cyril away. He's not a real person. He's a fictional character. I'm not obligated to forgive him because he's worried about getting into Oxford. I couldn't care in the slightest. If you're writing a story or you're performing a specific character, you do need to have that deep, intricate understanding of the character's inner workings. If you are playing a villain, you need to understand where that character is coming from so you can play that material from a truthful place. And that's all well and fine. But I'm not playing the character, I'm just watching. I already logged season 2 onto my profile. I'm not obliged to pretend that the characters have more likability than they do. And you don't need to like every fictional character you're seeing on screen. As long as you're not harassing the talent making the show simply because of what a fictional character is doing in a fictional narrative, then it's all well and fine. I wish we were seeing more of James and Alistair hanging out together because Alistair was sticking up for James when he was missing sports practices. And in episode 3, we saw James having that conversation about how you will lose certain friends when you change, but essentially you're outgrowing them. You're moving in a better, healthier direction. Sounds to me like Alistair needs to learn that lesson too. You are allowed to cut off family, and in Alistair's case, I really wish he would. He was trying to give Elaine good advice about not being a fatal attraction weirdo about James. That wasn't Alistair's verbiage, of course. He was much nicer about that. But did she want to take his good advice? No, she wants to align herself with Frederick. Horrible, hateful Frederick. Alistair, cut them off. Go no contact. And while we're talking about no contact, I need Lydia to go no contact with her father and with Graham. I know she's not talking to him right now anyway, but that's how it should be. And that's how it should stay. I actually despise her pregnancy storyline the longer it carries on because it's such a needlessly cruel thing to do to her. Why are you forcibly attaching this good-hearted girl with everything in the world going for her to a predatory creep? I can tell they're romanticizing the relationship on the show, and it's foul. I don't know what's in those season 3 scripts, but I would not be surprised in the slightest if they try to make those two endgame, and I have nothing but the most venomous feedback for such a notion.
But there is no way that I am fighting.
She wanted to warn Ruby about Elaine being up to no good. She saw her and immediately recognized that cruel energy. She knows what that looks like because she's living in the Beaufort household, and every attempt to mend her relationship with her father goes completely awry because that's the type of person he is. And then she told James that she was rooting for him and Ruby to be together, and when they went ahead and stood up for their love to Frederick, which was kind of foolish, but it was kind of cute, Lydia gave them an approving, affectionate nose scrunch. That had better not be her getting some wild, delusional, terrible ideas from the show's writers to echo that action by standing up for the situation she has with Graham, of her being a child, not even attending university yet, and her fully grown adult teacher. That's not a love interest, that's a predator.
I really hope I didn't just accidentally predict that.
Do German screenwriters not know about the Pretty Little Liars controversy? Because I don't know how many seasons that show had, and I don't know how many storylines I actually watched versus storylines that I've just heard people roasting in video essays. But the one thing I do know about that show is that unanimously across the board, every grown woman who watched that show when it was on the air has the utmost disdain for the Arya and Ezra love story. Do you really want to drag down your show that actually manages to be grounded and emotionally compelling instead of utterly ridiculous and contrived? Do you want to drag that show down and tarnish its long-term legacy by having good, kind-hearted Lydia be in a love story with a predator? We could just not do that.
Take it away before I gag.
Any final points about episode 4? Well, I did find it to be incredibly endearing how much James loved Ruby's room. The fact that it wasn't some sort of salacious milestone to finally be at her house, and more specifically in her bedroom, but that he's looking around and seeing all of the specific items that are there that personalize her space. He's learning more about her by being there. It's a way of deepening their connection and their relationship. It's this seemingly small detail, but it's exactly the type of detail that I love to see play out in a work of romantic fiction with this sort of dramatic tone. There's always so much happening on this show that's quite awful towards Ruby, towards James, and also to Lydia, that it can start to feel a bit suffocating, if I'm being honest. But moments like these are essential to enhancing the overall viewing experience. If I want to look up a Maxton Hall clip because it was a moment that I liked well enough that I would like to revisit that, it's not Mortimer bullying his children for the umpteenth time, or Lydia having some tearful exchange with the predator at her school. It's Ruby apologizing to James and him being so taken aback by that, and you just immediately know that that's it. He's hooked. He will never look upon another with heart eyes except for Ruby Bell. It's the dance scene where they just get to be sweet with one another and let their love blossom. And now we can add this exchange to that list. Maybe it's not on your list, but it's on mine. Him seeing her room and getting to fall a little bit more in love with her. It's cute. It's sweet. It's exactly what I love to see for these two characters.